So let me try and explain how the media mat works. It's actually not very difficult to understand. And I think the name is a bit fancy and pretentious, to be honest, for it. It's not, it's not supposed to be called media mat. I think it's basically a mask. If you think about it like a mask, that's what a really media mat is. So I have this picture here on the screen, as you can see. So for example, if I want to make a media mat or a mask that will show just that fireman and nothing else around him, okay, I could add a mask like a rectangle. So I'm basically just going to the annotations, right, in Camtasia, and I'll grab a rectangle. Doesn't matter which rectangle. Let's grab this white one and I'll put it here and I'll cover this fireman, right? So if you look in the timeline, this mask or rectangle is on top of the fireman. So it's important. This is how masks work. You put a mask on top of something, and then you tell Camtasia that that thing is a mask. So how do I turn this rectangle into a mask that will hide everything else and just show me the fireman? I apply the media mat effect to it. So I go to visual effects and I go to media mat. I'll just find it down here somewhere. Media mat, there you go. And I apply this to the rectangle. So when I do this, by the way, the rectangle is going to appear like it's gone because, of course, the rectangle is now white, but when it becomes a mask, it doesn't matter which color it is. It's going to be a mask. So the mask will be around the area that the size of the rectangle. So watch this. I will bring the media mat effect to the rectangle and boom. You see, the rectangle has now become a mask. You can still see it on the bottom here on the timeline. It says it's a shape, but you don't actually visually see it on the canvas because it now behaves as a mask. And even if I move it, so it's still a distinct object. So this rectangle is still an object independent of everything else. If I grab it and move it, you can see how I'm kind of moving it like a viewport on top of that image. And when the image ends underneath, there is no more stuff, then I don't see anything, right? So that's the nice thing with the masks. It's on top. I can resize it. You see, I can reveal more of that picture. I can resize this one so just see just the guy's head. Okay, so this is basically how masks work. And one side note here, masks in Camtasia have 2 or 3 modes, actually 3 modes, alpha or 4. Alpha, alpha invert, luminosity, and luminosity invert. Basically, I never bother with the luminosity ones, but alpha means, that's what it means. Alpha. Alpha in computer speech means a transparency. Right? So it creates transparency where the object is. In this case, alpha. This is the default alpha, which means when you apply a mask or a media mat to an object, it turns on the alpha, which means wherever that object is, you can see through it. But if you change to alpha invert, you guessed it, it's going to mean that wherever that object isn't, you're going to see through it. Watch this, alpha invert. See, the alpha invert means you can see everything else except for where the mask is. So that's the invert. This is when you want to poke a hole into something, right? So you can't really see it. I actually mean a hole because look, if I go to this project and I change the background to something like a different color, let's say blue, apply, you actually see the background through that mask, right? So look at this. I'm moving this mask around. It means alpha invert makes you not see what's underneath the mask, but see everything around. So that's how masks work. Now, let's go back to alpha, right? So I just want to see what's inside the mask. And again, you can still move this around, right? So, okay, I want to animate this. Well, okay, I want to animate the guy to zoom in. Okay, so that has nothing to do with the mask. The mask basically can be in a fixed position like it is now. So let's suppose that I'm trying to zoom the image in or animate the image in any way. So I'm actually going to select that fireman picture and I will add an animation to it, right there. So I'm going to go to animation, sorry. Animations. Where's the animations? Animations. Well, you can move these, sorry. You can move these menus. Animation, right? So I'm just going to do a custom animation. I'm going to apply it to this and make it long. And at the end of this animation, the guy's gonna zoom in. Okay, I'm going to zoom in and let me just move him down here. Okay, so this is my animation, right? So look at this. It's zooming in. But you notice because the mask is there, it's basically not showing me the stuff around. So the image scales, but it scales inside the mask. And it's going to continue like this. It's not even belonging to the mask, or it's not grouped in any way. You can group this, by the way, but it's not. It's basically this. If I move the mask away, look at this. That object can zoom all it likes. I'm not going to see it because the mask isn't there. So I'm going to put the mask back in here, and look at this. The object is zooming in, right? Like this. Okay. Now I want to zoom in and I want to keep the stuff inside the mask. Done. But how about having a border? Well, the problem is it doesn't help you to add a border to your mask, because all it's going to do, it's going to make the mask larger. Look at this. If I go to this shape, to this tab here where the shape is, you see the outline is white. It's a 0 right now. So I'm going to just make the thickness really thick. But you see what's happening? I can make my border as thick as I like. It's not going to show a border because the border itself is part of the shape of the object that is a mask. So what it's going to do is just going to make the mask larger to account for that border. So in reality, your solution, if you want to zoom in and you want to have the mask, but you want the mask or the frame to have a border, what you basically need to do is duplicate that rectangle and add a border to that. So look at this. This is the mask. I'm going to rename this track mask. Okay, media mat, the mask. And this is the fireman. Let's call it man. Okay, so now I want to have the zoom in, just like I do here. I want to have the masking going on, but I also want a border. So what do? I take this rectangle. You can duplicate it by right-clicking on it and saying duplicate. There should be a command here. Duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. Oh, they didn't put that in here. Okay. Control D, by the way, duplicates an object. Or you can do Control C, Control V to copy and paste it, right? Let's make some room. So now what I have here, nothing changed because I have duplicated that mask, but actually it's still got the mask going on. So I need to, on this copy, let's call it frame. On this copy of this object, I need to take off the mask effect, the media mat. Okay, so I go back to properties on the sidebar, and you see it's duplicated. I've got the media mat on it. I'm going to delete that effect, and no problem. It has now covered it because we took the mask off. So what we need to do now is we need to make this one transparent, but we want to add a border to it. So again, we go to the shape properties and we say, I don't want to have any fill. You see the fill here is solid. The opacity of the fill is 100%. I don't want any fill. Take that all the way down. And now let's make the border thick like this, which is white, 12 points, I guess. You know, you can change the border style or whatever, and the color. Let's make this border light green. There you go. So now I've got a mask. Watch this. You see the object is staying inside the mask because this track here has got that mask going on. And finally, the last track here is the same shape duplicated without the masking going on. And it's got a border that is, I don't know, 12 points, and it's got a no fill. You can even actually turn the opacity on and off of this, higher, lower, to make a translucency effect. I don't know. So that's how it works. So now, if you say, oh, sorry, I wanted the mask and the frame to be bigger, wider. Okay, you have to select both like this, and you can resize both. You see, like that. So I'm going to make more space in there. There you go. Both at the same time, because they need to be in the same space, the mask and the border around it, right? So now my guy is going to zoom in inside of that new mask. And when you're finally happy with what it looks like, you can finally select all of them and group. Control G. There you go. So now you've got a complete object that sits around and moves and works perfectly. And on your timeline there, it looks like a single group, single object, which you can move around. You can, you can resize it. You can put it in the corner. You can do whatever you like. It's still gonna function the same way because it's grouped, right? So I hope this makes sense. Media mat is literally just you put something on top of something else and you create it into a mask that you can see through it like a keyhole. And one note here, let me ungroup this for a second. You see it in the bottom there? I'm just gonna, actually, let me group it again and make it large again. I wanted to show you something. Undo, 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 large. Okay, so I'm gonna ungroup this. The thing is, if this mask is not as long as the clip, if the mask ends, you're going to start seeing the whole video. So watch this. This picture is inside the frame and it stays there all the way because look in the timeline, the clip of the guy and the mask and the frame have the same duration. They end in the same place. But watch this. If I take the mask and actually make it shorter, you see how when the mask ends, you start to see the whole thing again because the mask is not in effect anymore. I can still see the frame because the frame it ends there, but if I end the frame earlier too, now the frame is gone also. So see, when the mask was ending on the timeline, the other clip, the other picture continued, but because the mask was not in effect anymore, that's when you start to see the whole thing. That's kind of how masks work. So if you want to ensure that the stuff stays inside the mask at all times, you must make sure that you extend and they all end at the same time. This way you won't have any images or video escaping, right? And there you go. So I hope this makes sense.